Hello and welcome back to Getaway Day. As always, my name is Mason, his name is Gautam, and we are here to talk some baseball. You may have noticed we did not go live last week. Both Gautam and I ended up on separate work trips. Mine to Montreal, Canada, and I don't know where yours was. North Carolina?
Durham, North Carolina.
Yeah, so we didn't really have the ability to podcast last week, so we kind of had to cancel it, come back this week, just for me to tell you that we will not be podcasting next week either. We'll talk a little bit about why that is here in a bit, but before we get into it, Gowie, how's your last 2 weeks been?
Not too bad. Happy that summer is here, enjoying the good weather, and looking forward to the second half of the baseball season. It's crazy. We're almost 50% of the way through.
I disagree on one of those points. It is not good weather. It was so freaking hot, and I had to wear a tuxedo last Friday. It was 100 degrees with 110 heat index, and I was outside in a tux.
Yeah,
it was miserable. I went to pack up the tux the next day. My cousin and someone that you guys may see in chat every once in a while. Trying to think what his Twitch name is. I think it's Cards Baseball 7. No, Change Up 7. He just got married last week, so I was out there for that. But the next morning when I packed up my tux, it was still sopping wet, sweaty. Like, it didn't even dry overnight. That's how bad it was on Friday. And then it was 110 on Saturday. So, yay.
Hey, at least you're not in Laredo, Texas. They're like actually having 110 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah, we just had about 98 with 110 heat index. They're having 117 actual temp. So, ridiculous. But yeah, so I missed a lot of baseball the last 2 weeks. Like an absolute metric crap load of baseball. I know there's a couple of things that I was able to kind of keep up with just through like box scores and stuff like that. But a lot of it I kind of missed. So I let's kind of go and just talk about like who's been hot, who's not, kind of the last couple weeks. And I know one of the hottest teams in the major leagues is a team that I could have sworn was going to be a fourth place team. Pretty much no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yet right now they are leading the NL Central in the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy because it's a team that we completely wrote off. Even several weeks ago, we were talking about all the other teams and kind of their paths to winning the division. We talked about the Cardinals when they were actually starting to get things going at one point. Seemed like they had the clear path to the division. Obviously, the Brewers are always there. The Cubs had a chance, and no one really seemed like they wanted to take control of this division. And the Reds here have just completely changed their season in the last month or less than a month here, and ripped off a 12-game winning streak after the promotion of Elly De La Cruz. And it's been insanely fun to watch this team play.
This team is not really that different from opening day, but it feels like an entirely different team from the opening day roster.
Well, on that note, I got a trivia question for you.
All right, what do you got? Should I close the roster here? I'm going to do it.
Can you name the 5 opening day starters, or like the opening day rotation, basically? Only one of those guys is actually making starts for the team at the moment.
Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft.
You got 3, yep. The other 2 are pretty tough, so I wouldn't blame you if you got them wrong.
The next guy that my brain keeps trying to think of he definitely is not. He just debuted a couple weeks ago in Andrew Abbott. Luke Weaver.
Luke Weaver was injured to start the season, but he is making starts for them now.
Okay. I feel like that was a good pull, though.
It was, yeah.
Let's see. It's someone who this is their first year with the Reds, right?
No, but I'll just go ahead and give them to you because they're really tough.
Okay.
Connor Overton and Luis Sessa. Those are their 4 and 5 starters, and
Oh,
both of them got kind of moved out. Connor Overton actually got Tommy John, but right now the rotation is just completely different because you got Lodolo and Green both on the IL. Graham Ashcraft's the only guy from the opening day rotation that's actually making starts, and he's just come back this past weekend. The other names in the rotation,
Andrew
Levi
Abbott.
Stout, Andrew Abbott, Brandon Williamson, and Luke Weaver. So to pour cold water all over the Reds, that starting pitching staff is very bad.
Yeah.
And that's acknowledging that Andrew Abbott is kind of exciting and he's been really good to start his major league career.
Yeah, but the rest of those guys not exactly
Inspiring in any way. But this offense, it's what makes the team kind of super exciting.
Well,
I think the perfect.
And even this offense is significantly different than opening day because now, this isn't the guy that's like the reason that they're going off and doing what they're doing, but Joey Votto is finally back.
Yep.
I don't know if he's going to be anything close to what he used to be, but that's still a huge plus for Reds fans. Actually in the lineup, and actually Joey Votto's got 0.3 WAR through 6 games, so he's doing fairly solid so far. But then you've got like Spencer Steer that I think he made the opening day roster, but he's
been quietly amazing.
But he was a rookie that made the opening day roster. Matt McLean got called up. He has been the second best player on the Reds this season by WAR with 1.7. You have, let's see, Will Benson finally came up and started playing. He's got 0.3 WAR. He's been a positive there. There was another one I thought that came up and debuted, wasn't there? Or am I making that up?
Guys that debuted, no, but younger, kind of unproven guys like TJ Friedel, Jake Fraley, those guys have both been really good this year. The whole
Ellie.
Offense has.
And then Ellie. That was the other one that debuted. I just forgot to say him out loud. But yeah, like this lineup has been insane. And Ellie through 17 games, you don't have his stats pulled up in front of you, do you? If you don't. How much F-WAR do you think Ellie De La Cruz has through 76 plate appearances?
Well, I know he's hitting over 300. His OBP's very high.
He's hitting 333, 395, 594.
And he's got 3 home runs and I believe 8 stolen bases.
Correct.
Playing tough defensive positions. I would say he's probably at like close to half a WAR.
0.9.
0.9 in 17 games.
In 17 games.
I completely sold him short there.
He is the 6th highest WAR on the team, behind TJ Friedel, leading the team at 2.2. Quietly having a fantastic season. 4 homers, 12 steals, 311, 380, 468. Matt McLean at 1.7. Jonathan India and Jake Fraley both at 1.3, and Spencer Steer at 1.0.
Yeah.
So Ellie is already almost top 5 in WAR on this team. If he is not the rookie of the year as of right now, then there's a problem.
Well, the rookie of the year's name is Corbin Carroll. But if they had both started the season in the majors, then we would have a very exciting, interesting race there.
Yeah, and we still have a second half of a season, so it could very easily go Ellie's way.
I don't know about very easily. Corbin Carroll's kind of banked up quite a lead.
If Carroll gets hurt and misses a lot of time,
that's for any player. Any player could get hurt.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of what I'm saying. There's still a lot of time left. There's a lot of things that could happen. So, I love how Luke Weaver is kind of in the middle of the pack here for offensive WAR.
What?
Yeah, there's enough guys that are negative in like Matt Reynolds, Kurt Casale, Henry Ramos, Jason Vosser, TJ Hopkins, Jose Barrero, Tyler Stevenson, and Will Myers that it kind of puts Luke Weaver with 0 plate appearances right in the middle.
Yeah, and there's one more guy that's still waiting in the wings for his call up, and that's Christian Encarnacion Strand, who's just been tearing it up in AAA. It just feels like a matter of time before he's actually part of this lineup too. I don't know what position he's going to play or what's going to happen, but I think we should talk about that game that happened on Friday where Ellie had a cycle, and this was just an absolutely insane game. I think Great American Ballpark conditions were a big part of it. The Braves got out to a 5-0 lead in the first inning, and then the Reds were slowly scoring runs here in the second, and the third, and the fourth. Braves scored some more runs after the Reds had tied it, and then the Reds immediately in the bottom of the fifth score like 4 runs and go take a big lead, and then they end up holding on. They win this game 11-10, but obviously the huge story was Ellie hitting for the cycle, going, I believe, was it 5 for 6 even? Or was it 4 for 5, something?
Which day was it? Was it Thursday?
It was Friday. Friday. He went 4 for 5 with 4 RBIs, 3 runs. The triple was it probably would have been a double for 90% of players in the league, but that was the last one that he needed for the cycle.
And the dude is so fast. Did he blow through a stop sign on it?
No. There's no stop sign for going to third.
Well, there could be.
I mean, that's on the player, but he's the fastest player in the league this year. He has a sprint speed of 30.8 feet per second.
What's Corbin's?
Which is, I don't know. I don't have it right here on hand, but that's a good question.
Because Corbin is kind of recognized as being the fastest man in baseball.
And I don't know if it's true anymore. Yeah.
Well, because he had a 31 sprint speed for a while.
Not this year, he doesn't. So Corbin Carroll's 7th in the league at 30.1. Only guys faster than him are Jose Azocar, Jake McCarthy, Trey Turner, Bobby Witt, Bubba Thompson, and Ellie, who's a whole 0.4 feet per second faster than the second place.
Dang.
And then all that happened.
That is an average, by the way, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So, like, if you don't like run it out full speed, it gets added in there. So I kind of wonder if that pulls down like a Corbin Carroll. I'm curious to see what the fastest like individual home first.
I don't think it counts like when you're jogging. Like they won't count that as part of the calculation.
Yeah, but I mean, who then makes the determination on are they jogging or is that full sprint?
I don't know. Good question. Why are you trying to not make Ellie the fastest player in the league?
Because I want it to be a tie. I want it to be a debate on who's the fastest.
The numbers don't lie here.
I would like to understand the numbers, please.
Sure. And Joey Votto hit 2 home runs in that game, and he was not even like anywhere within the headlines of this story because Ellie just completely overshadowed him. So,
by the way, you mentioned that you don't know where Christian Encarnacion would play if he were called up. I actually do, because he's an outfielder.
He's been playing outfield. He's not an outfielder.
Is he third base primarily?
He's a first baseman, but he's more, I would say he's more positionless. He would fit best as a DH, but with the way they use Stevenson, the way they'll probably want to use Votto here, I don't see him.
They're going to throw him out in left, and basically Will Benson's going to lose his platoon start spot is what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
So, and that team, just let me read you this name or this lineup, throwing in Christian Encarnacion, because I actually really like it.
It's so good.
TJ Friedel, Matt McClain, Jonathan India, Ellie De La Cruz batting cleanup, Jake Fraley, Joey Votto, Spencer Steer, Tyler Stevenson, Christian Encarnacion Strand.
Yeah, that's a very legit lineup in that ballpark, and they're gonna have to score a lot of runs because we've talked about their pitching, and it's not good. And even within the streak, they weren't like pitching above their expectations. They were literally bottom third of the league in most of the important pitching categories, and they still were able to rattle off 12 wins in a row. So if they actually do get some like good pitching, they can probably sustain and be really good and go win the division.
And Lodolo and Hunter Green coming back would be big pluses for this team. But even they're kind of at risk there in Great American Ballpark of kind of having some blow up starts, getting bit by the home run bug. That's something that we've seen a lot from those guys. And the way they pitch in that stadium in particular, kind of to be expected. Like, it kind of feels like those are guys that pitch better on the road than in Great American, just because the style
that's
of pitching,
for everyone.
Yes, that it is for everyone, but I mean that's kind of the point. Is like they're really good, but that pitching is never going to live up to its potential because of the stadium that they're in. So, yeah. So that's quite a bit about the Reds, but they're not the only hot team. So let's move on and talk about the Giants, which I don't really know too much about the Giants. I just know you had them on the list here, so I'm going to let you tell me about the Giants.
Yeah, so Reds were getting all the spotlight. Meanwhile, the Giants were having their own win. They won 10 games in a row to get themselves firmly like back in the division hunt. They're only 2.5 games behind Arizona now with the 44-34 record, plus 45 run differential. Everything's just sort of clicking for this team. They promoted one of their top prospects and Luis Matos. He's been playing really well. He had a huge homer over the weekend. I don't know, like this team might be just a little underrated because we've talked about this like for feels like years now, how they just don't have a true superstar on the team, but they're so good at taking role players and making them better and extreme. They put them like always in the right matchups and situations to get the most out of players that don't have necessarily like they don't have an Ellie De La Cruz on the roster. They don't have one in the minor leagues either. It's just a bunch of Jock Petersons and Lamont Wades, and they all do exactly what they do the best they possibly can, and you add those all together, and they're awesome.
Now they do have a Patrick Bailey.
They do.
He's not an Ellie De La Cruz, but he is very good. He has been a very highly rated prospect for them for a couple of years now. At 24 years old, through 107 plate appearances, Patrick Bailey batting .323, .352, .535 with 4 homers and 1.5 WAR. Like,
don't look at his BABIP.
Yeah, I saw that. But I mean, he's still playing very well.
Oh yeah, no question about it. Yeah.
But just kind of looking through their just like batting leaders on Fangraphs here, at a very surface level, their lineup is actually incredibly similar to the Reds as far as production is concerned. Because they've got Jairo Estrada, 2.7 F-WAR, 277, 331, 449 with 9 homers and 17 steals. That's kind of like Ellie with less power, but a lot more plate appearances and a considerably lower average. JD Davis, 1.9 F4. Lamont Wade, 1.9. Patrick Bailey, 1.5. Yaz, 1.5. Conforto, 1. Jock Peterson, 1. Like, this is a team that has a lot of above replacement level players.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
And they don't really have too many bad players. Like, they have some guys that are negative WAR, but the worst player on the team through 88 plate appearances, which is the most out of anyone who's got negative, is Brett Wisely at minus 0.3. Like, if everybody is playing at replacement level or higher on your lineup, and then you come down and you start looking at some of their pitching in Logan Webb, who's again been fairly solid, the 3.16 ERA, a 3.64 FIP, and a 1.8 F4, striking out, 24% of his batters in 105 innings. Alex Cobb, 3.09 ERA, 3.24 FIP, 78 in 2/3 innings. Like, Desclafani has been pretty solid for them, 90 innings. His ERA is not as great, but like, then you go to the bullpen and you've got Camilo Duvall and Tyler Rogers who have been performing really well. Like, they have pieces on both sides of basically both halves of the inning that are performing very well. And so the fact that they're clicking now is not really terribly surprising like it is for the Reds.
Yeah, they're just like a team that I feel like flies kind of under the radar because they don't have the superstar. But like you're saying, just having those replacement or like better than replacement players is all you need. That's the bar for having a really good team. You just, if you don't have real dead spots or weaknesses within the team, like, you're going to be pretty good. And
yeah,
that division is like very competitive right now, with the Padres playing a little bit better. Dodgers are sort of faltering here. And then we know the Diamondbacks have been really, really good this year. So it's kind of like would you say it's a 4-team race? Maybe the Padres are a little further out of it right now, but they're only 6.5 out. It's not like they're dead.
6.5 out of the wild card. They're 9.5 out of the division.
So they're pretty far out, but
they're not dead in the water. Like, they're only 4 games below 500. The biggest thing to me is the other teams being so far above 500. Like, it's going to be a fight for San Diego to get back in it, and they haven't really shown any signs of figuring it out.
Like, they've shown some signs, I would say. They've been a little bit better.
But every time that they take one step forward, they take another step back. Like, they have not been able to get multiple units clicking at a time. They've not been able to get multiple superstars clicking at a time. Like, I mean, we saw St. Louis go and like get everything clicking and go on a run and then immediately fall back down. But like, I've not even seen signs of San Diego going on any kind of a run to make a push to come back from being 9.5 back. Like, they have the talent. The talent is definitely there. It's just, I'm not seeing any particular reason right now to say that this is a 4-team race. To me, it looks like a 3.5 team race.
Yeah. I guess the one more thing I'll say about the Giants, sort of like the Reds, we got a bit of concern with their starting pitching because Logan Webb's great. Alex Cobb's hurt right now. And then you got some slightly unreliable guys like Desclafani and Wood, who are just kind of, they're doing okay, but you'd like a little bit more depth there. And maybe the answer is like a guy like Kyle Harrison from the minor leagues, who's just like strikes everybody out, but he has horrible command. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but he's like a huge, big name prospect that they may be calling upon in the second half here.
Which Kyle Harrison would be he's pretty young in the system, isn't he?
He's super young, like, yeah. But he's at AAA.
Wasn't he like a last year before draft pick? Like, he was recent.
I think it was it wasn't last year. It was either,
I think 2 years ago. Then.
It was 20 or 21.
Okay. But to your point with the Padres, though, with like, they're showing some signs of life. I think the main sign of life that they're showing is the fact that in the last little bit over a month, they have got 6 very, very good starts out of Blake Snell.
Oh my God, yes. Blake Snell's been insanely good.
Blake Snell has given up 2 earned runs in the last month and 6 days.
I feel like I talk about Blake Snell like at least 3 times a season, but
Yep.
2 of those times I'm extremely frustrated.
Yep.
Because I can never figure the guy out. He's so talented. He has everything any pitcher would like kill for, yet he just doesn't seem to put it together for like half a season at a time. And then something clicks, and it's happened now like 3 years in a row.
Well, and we know that he has Cy Young talent because the dude has a Cy Young.
Won a Cy Young, yeah. And then so then he's seems like he's just flipped that switch here. I haven't necessarily looked into the numbers, see if he's like throwing different pitches or what, but he figures it out, and he literally pitches like a top 5 pitcher in the game.
The biggest thing is that he's locating. His Ks per 9 jumped from kind of averaging around 9 from opening day until the 19th of May, and then in the last month, he has not had a game where he is struck out at a rate less than 10.5 per 9.
Yeah, like, so he's become that's the thing that was really weird about the beginning of this season, because usually even when Blake Snell's pitching bad, he's usually striking out a lot of batters, and now he's like back in peak form here.
Other bit is that he's kind of got his command back down, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, it shows with the strikeouts, but it shows more with the walks. Like he's had,
I call that control, because he's never going to have good command. Like Blake Snell pitches out of the strike zone. Like that is his game.
That's fair. But he only had 1 game up until May 19th where he did not walk anybody. Since May 19th, he has had 2 of them. But then he's had a couple of 1-walk games. Or sorry, no. 3-walk, 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 4-walk, 0-walk, 0-walk. Not in that order. But he struck out 6 batters in 5, 7 batters in 6, 8 batters in 6, 12 batters in 7, 12 batters in 6, 11 batters in 6. So like he's getting the whiffs, and he's putting the ball relatively where he wants it in an effective location, and it's paying off. Yeah. Let's see. I think let's go and talk about one more guy who is hot. And when I say guy, I legitimately mean a guy this time. And that guy is having the most Ty Cobb season of anybody since Tony Gwynn. I realize that sounds weird to say, the most Ty Cobb season of anyone since Gwynn. But Gwynn wasn't, he was what, 394? Was Tony Gwynn's
1994 when he couldn't finish the season, right?
Well, nobody could finish the season. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So Tony Gwynn was the closest to reaching that magic number of 400, a number that has not been reached since Ty Cobb. Well, what
about Ted Williams?
That's what I meant, Ted Williams.
Ty Cobb was the guy that hit 400 in season, so you were right about that.
Yeah, but I guess he's not the
not the most recent. Yeah.
So Ted Williams,
Ty Cobb hit 409 in 1912. So he also led the league in batting average 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times in his career.
How about this? Outside of Tony Gwynn, Ted Williams is the most Ty Cobb player since Ty Cobb, other than Luis Ariz.
I'm on board. I follow.
Did I say that in the most confusing way possible?
Yeah, everyone's left the room here.
Yeah, I mean, if there was anyone in the room already, I'd be surprised. Because I've been confusing for a while. But 308 plate appearances, 73 games. Luis Ariz is batting .399, which is just absolutely insane. And he's doing it with essentially no slug. He's got 3 home runs on the season. His slug is 493, which is actually higher than I would have expected, but that's still mostly just singles.
I was going to say that all comes from singles and doubles, right?
Yeah, but a 160.
How many doubles does he have, actually? I'm curious.
How many doubles?
Yeah.
After I finish scratching my head, I'll tell you. Doubles. 15.
15 doubles. So, yeah, that's a lot of singles.
92 singles, 15 doubles. He is currently, I believe he's currently leading the league in hits on the season. If he's not, I
think Bo Bichette's very close, if not ahead of him.
I will check, but Luis Ariz has 111 hits already this year. Who's the last person to hit 200? Was it Ichiro? 200 hits.
I think we've had more 200 hit guys since then.
Have we?
Yeah. I think, didn't Trey Turner have one a couple of years ago?
I don't know. Maybe. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Hits. Bo Bichette is at 106.
And what was Ariz at? He was like just ahead of that?
111.
Yeah.
Now, the difference is in the number of plate appearances, because Bo is at 348 plate appearances, 333 ABs.
Yeah.
Luis Ariz is at 308 plate appearances, 278 ABs.
Yeah, he's just so fascinating. Like there's no other players like him in the league because he doesn't hit the ball hard. He's not fast. He doesn't play good defense. His one skill is like finding gaps in the outfield. Like every time I watch a Marlins game, Luis Ariz comes up and he hits a blooper that lands for a single. And it's like, is that a skill? Like, it feels like a skill that he has.
I think
that no one else in the league really has to this level. And that is borne out in the batting average, I guess.
Yeah, I think it is. And because he does not strike out. Could you tell me how many times Luis Ariz has struck out in 2023?
I know the rate's about 5%, so it's probably less than 20 times. 15
times.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times Luis Ariz has been walked? A true walk.
He doesn't walk a whole lot, but I know it's a little bit more than he strikes out. I would say he's probably walked about 23 times.
24 times. Do you know how many times Luis Ariz has been intentionally walked?
That's an interesting one. Probably like 5?
7.
Wow,
which is way more than I would have figured for a guy who has one tool, which is singles.
But it makes so much sense because if you're in a spot where you don't want...
You can't give up a single because it'll score a run. Yeah, like...
Exactly, yeah.
You intentionally walk him because the dude only has one triple. It came in the same day as one of his homers, a double, and a single. Because he had, I think, the first cycle on the season for the major leagues. Does that sound about right? It was early on. He had a...
Yeah, I do recall that now, yeah. And then this week, he had 2 separate games where he had 5-hit days. So he's literally had 3... I believe he has had 3 5-hit games this season already.
I could tell you if you give me 1 second. But do you think Luis Ariz can legitimately hit 400 for the entire season as a qualified batter? So as a qualified batter,
based on everything I know about baseball and what I think about players and like my way of analyzing players, I would say no. There's no way this keeps up. He doesn't do enough other than like make a lot of contact to make me think he can sustain this. Like, but do I want him to sustain this? Yes. I want to see how deep into the season he can get hovering around 400. Like it's so different than anything we've seen in a really long time. And I want him to do it. I want him to hit 400. It would be so cool.
All right. So one more trivia question for you. How many 4 or more hit games does Luis Ariz have this season?
I'm going to say 7.
I believe it's only 5.
5, okay.
He's
But
got
3 of them were 5-hit games.
3 5-hit games back on the 19th of June, the 16th of June, and the 3rd of June.
Yeah. I wonder if you were to expand that to like 3-hit games. He probably leads the league in 3-hit games this year.
I'm sure he does. I could have sorted that by hits. This is so much easier. Oh, dang. 3 5-hit games, 5 4-hit games, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 3-hit games out of 73 that he has played.
And for some more, overall,
I think
where he fits into the league, he's like first in the National League in WRC plus. So there's they say like empty batting average, guy that just slaps the ball and gets a bunch of hits and stuff, but doesn't really hit for much power. And you could say that of a 300 hitter, but there's no such thing as an empty batting average 400 hitter because you're just on base so much.
Dude, okay, so I was just counting up one more thing on hits per game for Luis Arraez. He has 11 3-hit games. Do you think he has more or less hitless games?
Probably less.
He has more, but only by 2. He has 13 hitless games, 11 3-hit games.
Okay.
And that's 24 out of 73. So he's got essentially 49 more games where he's got 1 or 2 hits. That's just insane. Like, it doesn't seem like it's insane just because I'm just listing out numbers like they don't matter. But that's unheard of. So weird.
So weird.
All right, let's talk about some bad teams real quick because we actually have a lot to talk about before we end for the day. So let's just talk about New York in general. How are they doing? Because it's not great.
Yeah, it's not great. And the specific one is the Mets. And their game yesterday, that felt like the low point in their season. And it has not been a season with many high points. So, they had this game. They were well on their way to winning this game against the Phillies. They were up 6-3 in the 8th inning. And then boy, did things unravel from there. So I'm just trying to pull up the play-by-play here from the 6th inning. So this is what happened. Single. Okay. Wait a minute. I'm in the wrong inning. Okay, here we go. So Harper walked. Real Muto singled. Stott walked. They brought in a new pitcher.
Who started the inning?
Who started pitching?
Yeah.
Some guy named Josh Walker that I've never heard of.
Okay.
And he was replaced by another guy named Jeff Brigham, who I barely know. So Alec Bohm reaches on a fielder's choice on an error by third baseman Brett Beatty. So then you got a 6-4 game. Brandon Marsh walked with the bases loaded to score the 5th run for the Phillies. There was a strikeout, and then there were 2 straight hit by pitches. Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner. And all of a sudden, the Phillies were up 7-6.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
walks, errors, hit by pitches.
Hit by pitches back-to-back to score runs with the bases loaded. That's
yikes.
One of the worst possible ways you can lose, I think.
Yeah.
And
what was the final of that game?
It was 7-6.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Because right after that, basically, it was like their last chance, and they didn't get it done, and they were clearly extremely frustrated because Mark Canha was yelling at the ump for getting rung up. Buck came out, got himself ejected, but this team is just like we talked about the Cardinals being a disappointment. The Mets are like 3 times bigger disappointment, I would say, just because of like their expectations were astronomical for this season. Like they went out and did so much stuff in the offseason. They're coming off a 100+ win season. They're New York. Like it's incredible what's going on with this team. And
Yeah, and the teams are pretty much they're nearly identical. Like the Mets do have the 3-game lead as far as record is concerned, but like run differential, it's about the same. Runs scored about the same. Runs allowed about the same. Like
wait, are you talking about the Phillies or what?
The Cardinals and the Mets.
Oh, the Cardinals.
Okay. Yeah, like they're basically the same team. One just had much higher expectations.
Not that the Cardinals didn't have high expectations.
Not that the Cardinals don't have high expectations, but the Mets had World Series. The Cardinals had like division series.
Which is always what their goal is.
But it makes it hurt that much more if you're a Mets fan.
Do you think the Mets, like, I don't see a scenario where Steve Cohen's like, all right, guys, let's throw in the towel. Let's trade Justin Verlander at the All-Star break and try again next year. Like, that doesn't feel like what's going to happen here, right? They're going to try to improve, or I just can't see them like selling off. It would be so weird.
I mean, he's probably going to double down, but they've got to make up 8 games in the wild card, 15 in the division. Like, it's not unheard of. The Cardinals made up 15 in the division, or 15 in the wild card in like August and September back in 2011. Like, it can happen. It's also still June, so it can very much happen. But it's going to be tough, especially with Atlanta being as good as they are, with Miami somehow.
They've got the Arias magic. They can't be beat.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. Like,
and then the Phillies are starting to play better too. So like, it's not going to be easy at all.
Yeah, and you've got probably 2 wild card teams in the NL West. Like, there's got to be some. They're going to be hoping and praying that other teams start to fall apart in order for them to get back in it. But I think Steve Cohen is going to bet on that.
So what happens here, you know, if things play out the way they are and the Mets just missed the playoffs, kind of like under 500 team, what happens in the offseason here? Do they clean house? Do they
I assume they probably will.
This is going to be the wildest offseason to follow, I think, the Mets, what they do.
Yeah. I have no idea. But then on the other side of town, over in the Bronx, things are better, but not by much. Like recently, the Yankees have been on a pretty decent slide. Like, they're still 8 games above 500. They still have a positive run differential. But the biggest thing for them is they don't have Aaron Judge. Yes. Turns out Aaron Judge's kryptonite is concrete. Which sucks.
Yeah, that does suck. Yeah,
sucks a lot.
So
I hate the Dodgers now.
What do you think the Yankees WRC plus is in the month of June, or at least their rank?
WRC plus for the team?
Yeah, the team WRC plus by the month of June, and the rank.
They are.
Judge has been out for most of the month, I believe.
They are 22nd in the league with. They're 28th in the league. They're 30th in the league?
Yes, 30th in the league with a 69 WRC plus.
I was going to guess.
What were you going to guess?
I was going to guess 69.
Well, there you go. You got it. So they're like 30% more than 30% worse than average. Like, they're worse than Pittsburgh. They're worse than Colorado and Milwaukee. Like, it's a wonder that they're actually like still in the race. They're very much in it. They can get it back together, but they got to get going here.
Yeah. How much longer is Judge out, do we think?
So we got the bad news that it seems like it's worse than we thought initially. Seems like he tore his ligament in his toe.
Ooh.
And that, like, there's no timetable. Like, it could be months, it could be 3 weeks from now or whatever.
Yikes. And nobody has really stepped up in the time since he's been gone. I mean, still, like, Judge has played 49 games this year, 2.8 F4. That's insane for 49 games.
Yeah, he was replicating his MVP season.
The next guy through 72 games is Anthony Rizzo with a 1.3. Judge has over twice as much F4 on the season through almost 25 less games that he's been hurt because LA doesn't know how to pad their concrete.
Yeah.
I hate the Dodgers. Have I ever mentioned that?
Once or twice.
I think they did it on purpose. They had to have, right?
Yeah, that gate was not supposed to open that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, the post literally came right off. It's like my fence in a storm.
Yeah, like Aaron Judge is just too strong, I think.
Yeah. But so hopefully things can turn around for the Yankees. Hopefully Aaron Boone doesn't destroy this team, because I have a feeling he will.
Yeah.
This team wins in spite of Aaron Boone, not because of Aaron Boone. And really, it's all because of Arson Judge. So,
yeah.
All right, let's. We've done a lot of who's hot, who's not. I think let's rapid fire the London series and that really, really, really lopsided game. And then I have a question for you.
All right.
So, London series, go.
Yeah, so London series.
Cubs suck.
Yeah, so it ended up 1-1, but it was very much like it could have been way worse for both teams, I guess, if they got swept. This actually was a kind of important series, especially I think for the Cardinals, because if they had lost both of these, it would have been like Mets' low point here of the season.
Yeah, especially after losing 7-0 or 7-1 in game one.
9-1, in fact.
Oh, I forgot about that 2-run homer late in the game. Yeah, 9-1.
Yeah.
Waino absolutely just...
He's been like just about the worst pitcher in the league this month.
He only needed 6 wins this season to get to the magic number of 200. He's still sitting at 198. Things are not going well.
He already has 3 wins.
I think so.
Oh, I'm impressed he has that many.
It's not because of him. So
yeah, it's been really tough for him. But yeah, so Cubs really just dominated that first game of the series. And then the second one, they got out to a big lead, 4-0 in the first inning. And then second inning, very bad error by Trey Mancini that just kind of like swung the game. Marcus Stroman was pitching through a blister, and he had like probably his worst start of the season.
Gave up, and then the Cardinals, was it 5 or 6 earned runs? I think it was 6.
It was 3 because they changed it to an error.
Oh, they
Mancini,
did?
So it was 3, yeah.
Crap, I was really hoping that his ERA was going to balloon. This sucks.
It would have, yeah. But I think he's still like, what, best in the league?
ERA, I think so. Wise? Best in the National League, yeah. But no, and that second game was actually really big for the Cardinals, just, I think, from a confidence standpoint, more than anything. Like, they came in, Jack was scratched from that game, so Liberatore started. I don't know why Liberatore came out, though, because he only pitched 2 1/3.
Yeah, he wasn't looking super sharp or anything. I think they were just being really careful to not have him face the lineup again.
Were they? All right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it all worked out from there, though, which is not usually something you can say for Ollie Marmol's pitching decisions. So, congrats, Ollie. You did something good. But no, that's a big confidence boost, I think, for the lineup. Just being able to scratch some runs across, come from behind again, and get a big win on the road in front of, like, potentially new fans. Like, the playing in London is huge for MLB. Like, we do the Mexico City series, we do the London series now. Like, we're starting to do the Field of Dreams game in different locations. The Field of Dreams game for next year was just announced. It's going to be in Birmingham, Alabama, where the Birmingham was it the Black Barons? Is that who played there?
I think so.
They're going to be playing it at their stadium, which is the oldest in the U.S. But we're starting to try and expand and play games in more places that don't typically get baseball and create new fans. And for a rivalry and two teams as historically relevant as the Cubs and the Cardinals, it's kind of really important to go out there and show that you're good and that the best teams historically are still relevant. And so being able to come back and not get swept in that series, I think is huge just from an international perspective for Major League Baseball, let alone just the Cardinals on this season alone not being a complete dumpster fire. So that was big for a couple of reasons there. But now we come back stateside and hopefully we don't suck.
They got a tough week. I think they got the Astros and the someone else good.
Yeah, don't remind me. We're just going to pretend that doesn't happen. All right. Next thing I want to talk about. 25 and 1. What do those two numbers signify to you?
Yesterday's date was the 25th.
To me, it signifies the absolute dismantling of the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, California, put up 25 runs against the lowly Colorado Rockies, owned by my nemesis, Dick Monfort.
He's your nemesis.
I think it was the fourth inning of that game. The Angels scored 13 runs, followed by
the third inning. Yeah.
The third inning, followed by an 8 spot in the fourth.
Yeah.
And a 1 spot in the fifth. To put them up in the sixth. Sorry, in the sixth. To put them up 25-0.
And 1 in the 8th, too. Yeah. But
the Rockies scratched across a run.
But that absolute bum Shohei Ohtani went 1 for 7. Like, just terrible game for him.
Yeah, he's worthless. We should probably just DFA him.
But there are some very fun lines in here, like Mike Trout 3 for 3 with 3 runs, Brandon Drury 3 for 5 with 3 runs, Hunter Renfroe 5 for 5 with a walk and 5 runs and 3 runs scored. Like, I'll even say David Fletcher, who got outrighted off his contract, had not played one single game for the Angels. He hit a home run in this game. When David Fletcher hits a home run, something's a little off in the competitive balance of the baseball game.
Yeah.
He went 4 for 6.
There's still, I believe there's still 2 qualified batters that are pretty significant names that still do not have a home run, if I'm not mistaken.
Tim Anderson?
Yes. Does he have a home run yet?
He does not.
Oh, Benintendi hit one, though.
He did.
Good for him. Okay, cool. But yeah, when David Fletcher has more home runs than Tim Anderson, you got a problem.
Well, David Fletcher literally has 1 home run in 1 game, so pretty good.
And that's more home runs than Tim Anderson, so it's a problem.
Yeah. It was also Coors Field, so that we have to mention that has something to do with the 25 runs. But
yeah.
Also, are the Rockies further away from winning the World Series than any other team? I would say resoundingly yes.
Oh, 100%.
Even further away than the A's or the Royals or anything.
Yeah, 100%. Because there's 2 prospects in their entire organization with any promise at all in Zach Veen and Drew Romo. That's about it.
Tovar's been pretty good, actually.
He's not really a prospect anymore.
I guess.
But no, this is a team that the needs for this team to be even competitive in their division, let alone be in conversations to be a World Series contender, are just astounding. third base is maybe the most locked down position for them by Ryan McMahon, and that's not really saying a ton. Like he's good, but he's not
a star.
He's not a cornerstone player.
You need more than like one above average guy in your lineup, right? Do they have anybody else that's like even
Nolan
average?
Jones, I think recently has been pretty decent.
Nolan Jones has been pretty good, yeah.
Elias Diaz.
Yeah, he's been really good. But
that's it.
That's it.
But yeah, this Angels team though, Matt Tice, 3 for 6, Renfroe, 5 for 5. Hey, Mickey Moniak went 5 for 5 with 4 RBIs that game. Like, and this is an Angels team that I tend to. It's been weird. Like, this is probably the most promising Angels team we've seen in years, and they're showing it with a 42-36 record, second in the AL West. But they're still seemingly underperforming to me. And
are they though? 42-36, not too bad.
They had a stretch where they were drastically underperforming. And so therefore, season as a whole, yes, I think that they are a better team than 42-36. I think they're probably a 45, 46 win team if that slide was even slightly close to average. But this is their best chance to go and get Trout and Ohtani into the postseason and actually advance. But they've got spots in their lineup where I'm still not sold. Like David Fletcher playing
specifically,
short.
We got to talk about their infield right now because, very terrible sounding injury to Giovanni Urshela. He fractured his pelvis and he's out for the season. You got Rendon back on the IL. Jared Walsh just got optioned to AAA because he's been abysmal. So then you're like, who's around this infield? Who's even playing? And they go out here and they jump the market and they make 2 trades in a span of 2 days. They traded for Eduardo Escobar. And then after the 25-1 drubbing, they traded for Mike Moustakas. They literally are just looking for any guy they can find to play infield for them right now.
Yeah.
Call up Fletcher.
Because Rendon's hurt right now, right?
Yep.
So you got Rendon out, so Escobar takes over third. Renfroe has moved from the outfield to first base, which honestly
they don't really have a first baseman, and I think that's why they went out and got Moose at this point.
Well, yeah, and so they were using Renfroe, which their outfield is fine doing that because you have Ward, Trout, and Mickey Moniak. Like defensively, that's fine.
But you don't necessarily want Renfroe playing first base. He's not a first baseman.
No, you don't. But really the only guy that's left you could have Brandon Drury play first
base. Yeah, he's done that a little bit.
Like he's your second baseman. Luis Rengifo is really your shortstop because Zach Neto is hurt right now, isn't he?
Yeah. I forgot to mention Neto. He's hurt.
Yeah, so like they're kind of screwed because they have their second or their backup shortstop playing second base, but playing short sometimes. But now David Fletcher's back. Like, it's
a few weeks ago, I read this headline that I thought was kind of funny, and I was like, "This has no legs. This doesn't matter at all." Daniel Murphy is making a comeback, and he got signed by the Angels like a month ago out of the independent league. He's 38. Yeah, that Daniel Murphy. But I could see him making an impact on the Angels now.
I kind of can too.
Yeah.
All right. So, we are getting pretty close to an hour, and I just realized we've not even touched the topic that the episode is titled after. So we might want to hit that real quick.
Yeah, we can do it fast, I think.
So I've got 2 things with the All-Star week that I want to talk about. One is we've got the All-Star ballot right now. And you and I were talking about this a little bit before, and let me get it pulled back up so that I have it. It will be All-Star ballot. Okay, so we are in the final portion of the All-Star ballot where we are down to 2 names per position per league. And 6 for the outfield. But I kind of wanted to talk about a couple of these races. So I think you and I are both in agreement on a lot of the positions of who we think should be starting in the All-Star game. Vlad for the American League at first base, Freddie Freeman for the National League, Marcus Semien and Luis Arraez for second base in the leagues, right? I think we're both in agreement there. I'm going to go ahead and skip third base for a minute. Bo Bichette and Corey Seager's a bit of a toss-up. I voted for Bo. I think you also voted for Bo, but there's literally zero argument against Corey Seager. I just kind of want to see Bo in the All-Star lineup. Just a personal thing. And then the outfield, I think we're on board with it being Alvarez, Judge if he comes back. At least vote him in, and then we can replace him. And Randy Arozarena.
Too, yeah.
And then Acuna is already in. Corbin Carroll and Mookie Betts being our others for the outfield, right? With JD Martinez as the DH for the National League. Shohei is already in for the American League. Cool. So that's who we agree should be in. Now, where things get a little weird is when you get to third base, shortstop in the National League. And then we disagreed on the catchers for both leagues, but I think the options that you have are probably the best of the options, right? And Will Smith, Sean Murphy in the National League, Joan Heim, Adley in the American League. Those seem like the two that should be in consideration. We just disagreed on which should be in, correct?
Yeah, but I think it's just picking nits, honestly. It's not like
exactly
big, nothing bad.
But so where I want to talk for just a quick second is three races in here that don't really seem to make a lot of sense to me. Third base, Matt Chapman, no issues. He's the second best third baseman by WAR so far this year. Makes a lot of sense. He's batting .265 with 10 homers, 805 OPS. Fantastic. Josh Young, though, kind of doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me being in the final two over Jose Ramirez, who has been the best third baseman in the league this year.
I was going to say, I don't necessarily have an issue with either Chapman or Young. They've both been pretty good this year. But Jose Ramirez is the star, and he's actually been the best player, too, this year. So it's like, that's just like a Cleveland thing. It's just a voting thing. That's the one issue here with this method of voting the players in, I guess.
Yeah, it feels so wrong to me to not have the best player
at the position, really. Right?
Yeah, and
in
it's not particularly close. Well, it's particularly close, I guess. 2.8 versus 2.5 in WAR, 131 versus a 124 in WRC plus. J-Ram's actually been the better defender too. Like, he's the better offensive and defensive third baseman than Chapman. And then he's been better in every WAR way. Better than Josh Young.
I was going to say, like, there's, even if you just compare actual statistical categories, he's better in every way, right, than Matt Chapman.
Yeah.
And he's got, like, a few fewer homers than Young, and other than that, like, what's the difference?
Pretty much, yeah. He's better at average, OBP, and slugging than Josh Young. The only thing that he's worse at is number of homers. Mm-hmm. And he's a full WAR, or 0.9 WAR, so not a full WAR, but almost a full WAR above Josh Young. I get that the young guy on the team that's out of nowhere amazing is going to get a lot of votes. It makes sense. It just feels kind of like a snub for J-Ram to not even be in the final two. But the bigger topic, in my opinion, is just the lack of quality in third and shortstop in the National League in this vote. Like, Nolan Arenado is a good player. Austin Riley is a good player, but neither of them are having a particularly good season. And there are much better options for the All-Star game. And guys like Jeimer Candelario, who's been actually really good this year. 2.4 WAR, 117 WRC plus. He's got 10 homers, 261, 338, 471. You've got JD Davis, who's been really good.
I guess that's a personal preference, maybe, because like for me, an all-star is not just the guy that's having the good first half. Like Jamer Candelario is not an all-star to me. Like it's Nolan Arenado. Like it just is.
That's fair, but it's like you're kind of picking just between lackluster performance and rewarding it is the thing that I look at it. Like
I don't think the All-Star game matters that much.
Names.
Like we want to see the I don't know, like the biggest names.
That's fair, but there's a point where it's like if someone is playing really well, significantly better than the big star, there's enough other big stars that give someone else a shot. Like I would give Jamer the All-Star bid right here over Austin Riley and Nolan Arenado, who are just kind of in the middle of the pack for third baseman in the league this year. Like they're good players. They're definitely bigger stars than the others, but I mean, we're already going to see Freddie Freeman. We're going to see Sean Murphy or Will Smith. We're going to see Acuna, Betts, Corbin Carroll, Bo Bichette, Adley, Yordan Alvarez. Like we're getting a ton of huge stars. Let's give someone else a shot if they're legitimately playing that much better. And in the case of the National League third baseman, there are multiple guys better than both Arenado and Austin Riley.
I guess. I don't agree, but that's fine.
All right. So what about for shortstop, though? Because that one is between Francisco Lindor and Orlando Arcia.
Both guys that, well, Arcia is playing like the best half season of his career, basically. And Lindor is not playing up to his standards or like what he's done in the past at all. It's like, I don't want to vote for Lindor, but I would if I was making that choice, I guess.
Same. But why is a guy like Dansby Swanson not in here? Why is a guy like Xander Bogaerts not in here? Like, it feels weird to me.
Yeah, and we should mention that Wander Franco should probably be an all-star, even if he's not going to win this vote. He's
he's the best shortstop in the league.
Yeah. And then Dansby's also second in WAR behind Wander. Like I think he is the deserving shortstop for the NL, and he won't be, but
same. But like you could convince me Thairo Estrada deserves it over like Orlando Arcia or Lindor. Like it just, I get why Thairo Estrada is not going to get it. Makes a ton of sense. Dansby that's a snub. That's just a straight up snub. Like he's in one of the largest markets with the largest fan bases that tend to vote for stuff. He's the second best shortstop in the major leagues, not just the National League, but the major leagues this year. And we're picking between Orlando Arcia and Francisco Lindor.
Yeah.
Just feels weird.
Well, something I'm just thinking about here, it's like, it's the way the names are displayed with the specific stats that they pick out. They'll put like home runs and batting average and RBIs and stuff. And Dansby's numbers don't really pop, right? He's got 8 home runs and 4 steals. It's like, that's kind of seems a little underwhelming. And in some ways it kind of is, right?
So Arcia is getting picked based on his average and his OPS, which is driven by his average.
Yeah. So I'd be curious how we never know this answer, but like if they gave you a ballot that just had the names, didn't have anything else, that would maybe go towards the bigger stars more than anything else.
That's probably true. Kind of wonder if there's a way that we could do that. We'll have to discuss this offline. But yeah, so that was just kind of a brief rundown of what we're looking at for the All-Star ballot and kind of how we're thinking about it. I'm curious what you guys are thinking for your All-Star ballots. Who deserves to be in? Who doesn't? Is there anyone that's not in this final round of voting that should be? let us know on socials, and we will discuss it when we get back from our trip, which I'll mention in a minute. But I have one more question for you, Gowie. So with the Home Run Derby, which does not matter for anything at all, it's just really fun. We have two
you
guys.
You get a lot of money if you win, right?
You do.
The polar bear knows about that.
Exactly. So it's really important for guys that make the league minimum. For everyone else, it doesn't really matter. It's a drop in the bucket. But we have...
It's a nice bonus.
It is. But we have last year's runner-up in Julio Rodriguez, the first guy to be in his home stadium there in Seattle. And then a couple hours later, Mookie Betts announced that he's going to be in the Home Run Derby. So we have 6 more guys that are going to sign up for the Home Run Derby at some point here. And I'm curious who you want to see.
Yeah, so I want to see some guys that are like not necessarily the best baseball players. Like I want to see some of the like biggest raw power guys. Like this is not necessarily like a real baseball skills competition, right? Because they're just lobbing the balls in. It's BP basically.
Yeah.
So I want to see guys like Jack Sawinski in there. I want to see like Jared Kelenic. He's hit a ball 482 feet in an actual game. So to give him like BP balls, like the guy's incredibly athletic and got so much power and stuff. Like that'd be so.
Did
cool
Schwarber participate last year?
He's definitely done it a few times, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Obviously, those big power guys like Schwarber and I think like Sal Perez has done it. And
yeah.
Anyone else you're thinking of?
So I want to see Ellie do it.
Yeah,
that would be fun. I would honestly, cool. And he's been showing up recently. He's been really, really good since getting called back up. Jordan Walker, like his exit velo is elite. He's now starting to get some elevation under the ball. And so he's hit like 4 home runs since he's come back up. Like he has insane power. I want to see him and Ellie. I want to see Jack Sawinski. I would love to see O'Neal Cruz if he weren't hurt, but he is, unfortunately. So he's out. I want to see Pete come back and try and win it again. He's not going to, I bet, but I want to see it. But then like, I don't know.
How about here's a good one. Jake Berger, who's hit a ball 118 miles per hour this season.
Yes, Jake Berger would be phenomenal in that. Like
that guy is built to hit home runs.
He is a monster. Yeah. But the other thing that I want to see a couple of minor leaguers, like AAA guys, come and do it. Is specifically Sam Huff. I want to see Sam Huff participate in a home run derby.
Yeah,
like he hit. What was it, like a 512-foot home run in AAA last year?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was absolutely nuts. The dude has so much power. Like, if Jonah Heim weren't playing as well as he is this year, Sam Huff would probably be in the Major League roster just because of his power. Like, he's kind of a Mike Zunino, it feels like, where that's kind of all he's got. But it would be so fun to watch. So, but yeah, so I think that's probably all we got for today. So I'm curious who you guys want to see in the All-Star game, who you want to see in the Home Run Derby. Gautam and I are going to be kind of out for the next week. So we'll try and be more active on social media and see if we can get some questions like this out there and let you guys respond to them. But we are going on a trip. So last year we went to California and Arizona. We did the Diamondbacks, the Padres, the Angels, and the Dodgers. This year we're going out east and taking our buddy Matthew again. We're going to Queens, the Bronx, the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, and then up to Boston. We're going to catch quite a few games, and then I'm coming back and probably going to another game here at Indianapolis for a AAA game immediately following, which is going to be so much fun. So we're looking at like 6 to 7 games in a week. Like if you include my game here in Indy, it's going to be nuts. So we're going to be trying to do a lot of social media stuff next week, but we will not be podcasting unless Gotham really, really wants to bring a laptop and a microphone to a baseball game.
Live pod.
So yeah, so make sure to check out our Instagram, our TikTok, our Twitter, and we're going to be just trying to put everything that we can on there. Doing as many shorts and things as we can think of, similar to how we did it last year. Kind of do it blog style for the week. It'll be a really, really good time. If you guys are out in the Bronx, Queens, Boston, or Cooperstown, come find me because I have stickers, and I will be giving away stickers the entire trip. I have 125 of them on the way. So we've got plenty to give away. So come find me. We'll get you stickers. It'll be fun. Look forward to potentially meeting some new people out there. I know we've got a couple buddies that we're going to meet out in New York. So it'll be a good time. Got any teasers or hype that you want to give to the people there, Gotham, about our trip?
Just watch a lot of New York games. You might see us.
How excited are you for Jordan Westberg to be called up by the Orioles to come play in the Bronx against the Yankees for us on the 4th of July?
I'm kind of excited. Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. So we will be keeping you guys up to date on our exploration, our adventures, and we will see you back here in 2 weeks.
If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and YouTube to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Getaway Day Pod. If you enjoy card collecting, check out our sister YouTube channel at Getaway Day Cards.